is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday. Not 8:30 a.m. Pacific today because we are live at TIA Technovations. It is day 2 out here in the greatest state in the country, and that is Arizona. It's my backyard here in my hometown, and I'm joined by my good friend Carly with Transfix. She's back today to talk about everything that they got going on. So Carly, thank you so much for taking the time here this morning. You got a big presentation coming up here in a couple hours, and I'm really excited for this. And for me, not being on like the freight tech side of things, I love coming in here because even though I interview a lot of these companies that are showcasing on my show, it's different just to kind of like be in that room and really experience it. Because as a business owner, I'm not talking about a media guy here, I'm talking about the freight brokerage that I run. I'm constantly looking like, how do we get ahead of some of these curves that are out here? Because automation, obviously the hottest topic that is out there right now. But again, like, how do I implement it in my organization before we have a full team on staff so we can work out a lot of those kinks?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of like coming to conferences like this to fully understand what is out there. Where does it fit in your operations today? And as you scale, what does that look like? TIA is a great opportunity for that. There's a lot of exciting stuff happening. There's been some really great Technovators that have, presented the last couple of days. That's been exciting. And then, as you mentioned, we're in the Shark Tank today. So yeah, I'm fired up. I'm ready. I love it.
So from your perspective, you're out on the road a lot. You're seeing a lot of these things. What's some of that technology that's like outside of what you guys are doing that you're excited about kind of for the industry as a whole? What are some of those presentations you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of this technology has a purpose. I think what's really important is kind of where it fits uniquely into everyone's book of business. I think a lot of the ones that take away the mundane tasks, that kind of like automate some of the stuff that actually don't really need somebody or doesn't bring value to somebody's job, doesn't bring value to a customer, to have somebody working on that as opposed to working on the relationship. Those are the ones that I think are really cool. Anything with scheduling is really hard. So if you've tackled that, I'm super impressed. And anything that can just manage through exception management, that's also been really great. We're in the Shark Tank with a couple of other really great companies. Fleetworks is one of them. I have the opportunity to see their product a little bit. There's some good stuff coming there. So there's a lot out there. It's very circumstantial to what you're looking for, what step you want to start with in your own book of business.
What are some of those areas, like, because everybody's, has a diverse freight mix out there. There's RFP shippers that are out there, but like, I feel like the majority of the people need to understand, like, you really do start out in that spot market spot. And I think it's like, how do you meet where your customers are? And I think like, because I look at it as I'm not an entrepreneur guru by any stretch of the imagination, but like, I've been self-employed long enough to understand that just because I want something for my company, does that mean it's going to benefit my customers? So it's like, it's really taking that and then bringing that in. And that's where I think you guys have a great tool out there in the market is it's like, I don't know of any shipper that has an RFP that is like overtly satisfied with the structure of it and everything else. And like the ones who put it together on a spreadsheet, I don't know of any of them who are like super excited to build all of that out.
Yeah, it's a really funny point. You mentioned that in the beginning, was that where do you start through all of this automation and what does that look like? I was having a conversation with a broker yesterday and they're like, well, I'm looking at this product to do this and this one do that. And I was like, where does the life cycle of a load start? It starts at pricing. And pricing is critical not only to your business, but how you perform, which ends up impacting the relationship with the customer. Very similar with spot, right? Like, what you need to price to win the bid, but what is that cost of acquisition? That cost of acquisition is critical in today's market. That may not be a risk you're willing to take. To have that data and that insights on the spot side, that's pretty important, right? Like, and it's understanding what is your available capacity? What are you likely to do with this? Like, how do you build off of it? On the other side, when you get an RFP, having that long tail of information and understanding what is the overall risk, where are you going to benefit? Shippers, everyone is like a unique little snowflake. They all do their RFPs very differently. They all look at, feedback very differently. They manage them all really uniquely. But as long as you have an understanding of where your book of business matches against it, what risks you're willing to take, and then taking it a step further when you get the award and understanding how you're performing against the bets that you took, that's when it all comes into play.
What are your guys' customers saying about what's about to happen? Because like in my opinion, I think we're at like kind of the fringe of a market shift started. Like I think a lot of it has to do with the current administration. How hard are they going to continue to push with ELP and everything else? And like, because I feel like they're just kind of scratching the surface of this, and it's going to be interesting to see. I think that there's a lot of stuff in limbo about what could happen because, you know, again, there's a lot of hot button issues that are very hot on social media and in the media for a couple of days, but it's like, what's the overall fallout of this? You know, you sit here and, you know, some people are like, oh, we removed 7,200 drivers out there, but it's like, okay, but like compared to the overall freight availability out there, what does that actually do? So do you think some of your customers or any of them bringing it up like, hey, our shippers are anticipating a market shift happening here this next year, change your pricing accordingly? Or are they, hey, we're pretty much status quo going into 2026, and if we rebid, we rebid?
Yeah, I think the smart brokers are having those conversations today to learn a little bit more about it. That is, you know, the kickoff of RFP season. We are in the middle of a couple of them. And I think that I've spoken to a few over the last couple of days. There's a bit of cautious optimism there. You know, there's been some good signs. There's been a little bit of leading indicators. I also think people are just so mentally drained from this trough that we have to kind of hold on to every little glimmer of hope to kind of get us out of this. The smart brokers are taking their current RFPs. Through our workflow tool, you're able to kind of see a long tail of what your margin looks like throughout the RFP based on your buying behaviors, based on the rate you put in there. So you know when your risk comes, when your margin slippage happens. And so they're having those conversations. If they can look at their book as a whole and see, it looks like, you know, there might be a tick here, or this is what we're doing. Hey, shipper, let's have these conversations now. Here's what we're seeing. Managing those expectations really early makes it a lot easier should you need to go back and have those conversations. Having that open line of communication, having the data to support it, and then the partnerships and the relationship there to back it.
So with the data that's available in your tool, like I'm just thinking out here, if we're looking at like the average, you know, 12-month cycle of an RFP, are you able to go in there and kind of pull out those, you know, like just standard market shifts? We're talking holiday weekends and stuff like that. Like there's a natural rise in what you're going to pay as a broker during that time. And obviously you can't go back to your customer and ask for more money in that moment and stuff like that. So are you able to kind of plan that out? And again, obviously it's all a guess at the end of the day, because when you contract it out, it's the anticipation that there's not going to be any meaningful change out there. And that's why you hedge your bet for a long-term pricing lock-in. But like, as a business owner, I want to see, you know, obviously I only pay attention to the rolling 12. I don't pay attention to the transaction, the week, the month, anything like that, because I know there are certain months that we're going to pay more money on the freight, and I can't go back to my customer every single time and ask for more money. But I'd like to see, hey, the guess on the performance throughout the year, and you have those, you know, holiday peak factors that come in.
Yeah. So our engine, dynamic engine, takes into account all of that information. So it takes in seasonality, DOT week, end of quarter, all of that comes into account with it. And so when you're looking at your pricing through here, it's giving you a cost-based rate. It's blending your historical buying behaviors. How do you buy during DOT week? How do you buy when seasonality shifts? Are you responsive to seasonality when it starts to kind of inch in? And how long does that take? All of those are taken into consideration when giving you a long tail view of your margin. If you have a lane that's green for 12 months, like fantastic, that's going to work great for your business. You may not be competitive enough to win the lane though, right? Like, and so that is our goal, is to give you that information so that you can make the decisions that are best for your business. And then in there's a place to collaborate, right? So you have multiple users. You can go in there and say, this is going to be read during these months. Account management, sales, ops, what's the plan? What are we going to do here? Are we, you know, looking for more spot? Do they peak at spot? What's the commodity? What's their seasonality? What does that look like? Also, it allows you to, it has the dynamic volume feature. So it allows you to understand during what months and how much volume you're going to have during those months, the impact of what that is. So if you have a spike and you need to consider step pricing, or you need to understand what capacity looks like, that's all taken into consideration in the dynamic engine, so that you understand, you know, there might be, when you look at either an opportunity outside of an RFP cycle, right? Like a short lane before you get into the major RFP, and you see that and you're like, okay, this is going to be great. Oh, but the shipper said it's all in December. That's going to be a really rough month, like, because that's when all your volume is. And that's when you decide to make your, like, where you want to make your money or not. So you can look at it and have an understanding based on also the volume that's in there, how that distributes across the length of the RFP.
What do you think people get wrong about their data? And this is something that, from my perspective, the more freight you move, I think like it identifies some things that maybe you didn't realize early on out there, and especially from a pricing perspective, because I like to bring consistency to my customers. I feel like that's a massive value add in transportation.
Sure.
Is like, how do we provide a consistent price, consistent service, and kind of balance a lot of that out? But, I didn't start really paying attention to a lot of data up until recently, right? Because it was like I was in such a reactionary mindset with a lot of stuff, like sea freight, cover freight, and that was it. And like you weren't necessarily planning ahead because, when you're building anything, and this was more like early on in my career, you go from not having freight to then maybe you got a lot of freight going on and you're so like, we just got to cover it. And then drivers fall off, there's delays, things happen out there. So you're not necessarily like paying attention or as close attention as you should. And then you might make that knee-jerk reaction. Do you guys think data helps maybe calm that anxiety that comes along with it if you have a rough week out there?
Yeah, well, there's a couple parts to that question. What do I think people get wrong about data? The first thing is everyone says to me, well, I have bad data. Nobody has bad data. You just don't know how to leverage it, right? Like all of the data is good. We just have to figure out how to leverage it and what part drives your profitability and what part's driving negative margin, right? So that's the first thing. You don't have bad data. You just have to understand how to leverage it and how to use it. When looking at pricing data as a whole, there's so many different contributors that go into it. Again, it's about understanding the data of not only your just transactional freight, but also how are you performing uniquely within shipper A versus shipper B, because they all have different KPIs that manage your performance, but also affect your margin. And so when you start to kind of unpack your data, and in our UI, we have a reporting suite that gives you performance-based data, market buying to market. You can look at it by shipper, user, lane, all of those. Once you start to understand that, it can really kind of like help you pull the levers for like incentivizing the behaviors that you want from your brokerage team to help you scale profitably.
I look at it, because like there's a lot of similar lanes that you're out there running, different shippers, similar lanes, everything else. It's all priced differently. How does utilizing a tool like yours, like kind of help close that gap, right? Because I feel like, it's always great to have more money on lanes, but it's like there's that inherent risk that if they're like, hey, shipper A, you move, say $2 a mile on this one, shipper B, same lane, it's at $2.10 a mile. Are you bringing on risk to your organization because like, you can get it done for less? And then is that an area where your competitors could come in? Do you see that that's something that brokers, after implementing your tools across, maybe it might be for more of a mature organization with multiple offices and stuff, they're like, whoa, our pricing's actually out of whack here. Why are we getting this? Or maybe it's how do we get that shipper that's at $2 a mile up to $2.10 a mile? Because again, we have the data to back it up that it's justified and people out there will take that.
Yeah. There's a couple ways to approach it. One is like the first thing that we do when we work with a broker and as part of our implementation is we do like a network analysis. And we come to them and say, if you're a large scale broker with multiple offices, we say, Office A is buying really well on this lane. Office B is not. Office B holds the majority of this freight. This is where your disconnect is. And like one way to kind of, understand how to unpack a little bit more margin on there. I think that when you're looking at same lanes, different shippers, that's more of a carrier capacity piece, right? Like if you're paying more per mile based on that, is it because you're paying a carrier that's more reliable and hits those KPIs because that shipper is very strict, right? If that is the case, then that's then you take that internally and you say, all right, this is where we pay it. This is what we have to do for this shipper, but we know we have an edge in this market. So how do we capitalize on it? One of the things that we do with the tool is we retrain your model every single night. We ask for your data every day so that if you start to gain a competitive edge in a market, it's immediately reflected the next day when somebody goes to quote that. So you're taking advantage of that. On the other side, if you're losing your edge, like maybe complacency set in or a broker was out of town for a week or whatever that is, that's also evident and like called out in reporting and then called out when you're looking at making those pricing decisions. So, I mean, there's a couple different ways to look at it. The tool is helping you manage the data to make the right decisions. It's surfacing the capacity that you've used to make those decisions previously so that you can make kind of more strategic data-backed decisions, like instead of just let's hope for the best.
No, absolutely. Do you think that with where we are with, the right tech stack and data, again, you were alluding to people say that we have bad data. Do you think it's actually exposing bad processes and bad leadership along the way to like kind of pull that out? Because again, like I look at it is I want to sit here and think I'm perfect, right? I think everybody is their best character in their life. And I get all of that, but like, I want to win in business.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned about being right. Like truly, if you can come, like my honest philosophy, if you can come to me with a way for us to make more money, create more value for our customers, please bring it to my attention. Like we need to make those necessary changes. Like that's just how competitive it is in the real world, right? Like not fictitious social media, everybody wins stuff. Like this is where it is. And it's like your data is your competitive advantage to help you. Like maybe you can get a little bit more competitive on your pricing out there in the market where you're going to long-term hit your metric, right? Whether it's 15% profit margin, 14%, whatever that number is. I'm just making stuff up right now for people. Do you think that that has caused some people to be like, our systems suck and we got to start there?
Yeah, I think the bad data part in the beginning is really funny. I don't think people are looking at it as like, it's bad data, our leadership sucks. It's that most brokerages don't have data scientists, right, to help them understand their data or analysts. And that was like a big thing for me when I came to Transfix. I was like, they have a chief economist and a whole bunch of data scientists and analysts and all of these people and then data engineers.
Yeah.
And so that was our competitive edge. That was what we did. It's not uncommon. I think maybe I've talked to a few and they're massive brokerages that actually have a team that supports what that is. So, I don't think that is necessarily evident of bad leadership. I do think though, if somebody is sitting on the same information that they've had for a long period of time and, hanging their hat on their laurels and, just blaming it on, a bad economy, a bad market and such, that having a tool like Transfix or any of these other ones out here does expose that a bit more, right? It does kind of bring that to light, which gives you like a, oh no moment. And you have to decide, which way do we pivot to make sure that we're maximizing the tool that we have, because implementation and change management is hard, especially for people who've done it the same way for a very long time.
Exactly.
But then, just also making sure that you're leveraging everything that you guys have internally.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I want to sit here. I don't know of anybody who wants to be told that they're wrong or they're doing something wrong. But like at the end of the day, I think like that for me is like where a lot of value with tech is coming in, is where it's like, again, a lot of people, you get comfortable, you get set in your ways. This is the way that we've always done things. You don't necessarily think you're having a problem because you know what? Yes, you're making money. Yes, you might be profitable. Oh yeah, the economy's bad. That's why we're not this and that. But it's like, well, you might be one or two tweaks away from being profitable in a down economy, in a bad market and everything else, because you're not paying attention to those things. Because again, 100%. Like I'm an old school freight guy to my core, right? Like cold calls, site visits, do it, move truckloads, but like it's a different ballgame now. This is not the same industry pre-COVID or even 2022. Like there is so many more tools that are at your disposal to drive greater efficiencies out there in the market. And when you can drive greater efficiencies, you can create, in my opinion, more customer loyalty out there, because I think we're about to embark upon a market that I don't know if enough people are really comprehending about how bad it could truly get for the freight broker community. Because when it becomes a carrier market next, like it will, rates are going to go up. I don't know of any shipper out there who's going to willingly want to increase their prices, especially when they are dealing with high inflation, just like the rest of us are out there in the market. So it's going to be that balancing act. But again, are you utilizing your data to actually move your company forward? Or are you going to use it for your detriment? And I think, again, it's a lot easier to hold back and not pay attention and like not accept where you are. And that's one thing that I'm excited about with a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing here is it's like, how do I drive greater efficiencies? How do I set my team up for success with this? So when we can go in there and bid with confidence at the end of the day, because that's what we need, because market shifts are going to happen. Bad economies are going to happen. I can't control that. How can we take our data? How can we leverage that to actually win? So somebody's winning, right? Like I know a lot of guys out there, guys and girls, excuse me, that are winning in this market. They're gaining market share. They might not be rolling in with a ton of margin and everything else, but guess what? They're onboarding new customers. They're getting new lanes. They're inching it forward. They're going to win in this next cycle. So it's like you have to utilize this stuff and leverage this to your advantage, because the tools are at your disposal now. You can't sit here and say there isn't a data aggregator out there that you can't implement into your organization to make it all make sense. It's all out there.
And everything even outside of Transfix, when it comes to data, most of these, anything that you look at, right, whether it's a Power BI or, whatever, they are made to aggregate and help simplify and slice and dice so that you can make those decisions that are better. And it can, there's the really obvious ones where, like, oh, this is a really bad lane for me. And then there's the good ones where you're like, this is, a great lane for me. You can take it a step further, right? And if you can't, you can partner with companies, like Transfix, to help you understand that. One of the things I always tell people is that, look, you'll have a head of implementation, you have your account manager. I am always available, but anytime you have a really hard RFP, you have a data scientist.
Yeah.
Like if you are saying like, I don't even know how to look at this, or like chop and slice it, or I've got a massive opportunity that I've never had before, like use us. We've done it. Yeah. We've iterated on it. We've likely priced it. Yeah. I mean, we were a $350 million brokerage before we divested. So we've likely had experience with it and can give you insights on any of like the nuances of the facilities and such. And so I think that's one of the other pieces of like the value of Transfix is that, you have a full team that has lived it, has empathy, understands like your processes, can also identify like, hey, maybe this process isn't benefiting you the way that you think it should. Yeah. And then, help you scale.
I also look at it too, like, I feel like sometimes, that type A personality, that sales rep doesn't want to wave the white flag, right? Like, and I wish, and again, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but I wish more people would go to their vendors and ask more questions. I'm sure you guys might want that, right? Like, come and talk to us. Like, we're not looking at you any less. Like, we want to see you win. And because that's the thing, right? Like, I don't know, and again, I can't speak for everybody who started a company, but like, I don't know of any founder out there or any business out there that wants to see their customers lose. No. You know what I mean? No. So it's like, you should go out there and ask for more. Like, and this is something that, again, I got to give my business partner credit here because he's more analytical and a lot of stuff than I am. So he's like, no, we got to ask, does this do this? Does this do this? I'm like, yeah, actually, you know what? We do need to do that. We do need to figure that out. Is that something that you're like, hey, every Transfix user out right now, if you have questions, you need to come to us about all of this?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, we have an open line of communication. I mean, fortunately, we're at a point, we're at almost on like a tipping point of inflection, and we're making a lot of the hires and stuff to handle it. But we're at a point where like, a broker can text me and be like, hey, I have a question. Can you jump on? I'd be like, yeah, sure. Or I'm at a conference. I'm going to direct you to David, our head of implementation, and he can do it. I will say, being on this side of the business, brokers aren't afraid to ask questions. Yeah. They're not afraid to kind of open themselves up a bit more and be like, this is where we're broken. We need to solve this and we don't know how. It's a totally different experience on the shipper side, right? Where they're very gated, they're very protective over their data and their facilities. And, especially a lot of the large enterprise ones, the cycle is really long. Yeah. Right. It's very different on this side. And it's been a breath of fresh air. Thank you. Here yes. It's been great to work on it on that side of things because you're actually collaborating to solve that. So thank you, Transfix customers.
I love it. So let's pivot here for the last couple of minutes. Cool. You are presenting today, little Shark Tank thing. What pre-Shark Tank performance, what are you thinking? Like, how are you expecting this to go outside of you going up there and dominating?
I'm insanely competitive. I expect nothing less than for us to take it home. I know our product. I know the people that have built it. It's the same people who have lived all of these freight inefficiencies for years as a broker. I'm continually impressed with what we release and what we do. And so I'm hopeful. I'm sure the audience will also be impressed with what we're doing. I'm just really excited. It's a great opportunity. It's a very competitive stage, which I love even more. So I'm ready.
Yeah. So like, I've never done it before, but I've seen this here. This is, I think, the third one that they've done now. Watching the show a bunch, and I think it's interesting, right? Like to go up there and really just kind of like lay it all out there, right? And like, I mean, my perspective might be a little bit different than some because like I've been doing a fucking podcast for years. Like I put all of it out there and I don't do double takes. It is like one cut, we're fucking done and moving on with it. But it's like, I love that environment in business, right? Like for me, it is like business is the ultimate sport to me. Yeah. It really is, because it's like, I don't want to sit here and say it's like life or death per se, but it's like, man, everything is on the line right here. And I love it. I love seeing that competitive nature come out in people. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, Carly, that's why I love interviewing people so much, because it's like, what are they passionate about? How do I get that? And then when you see somebody up there on stage delivering that energy that comes in, and you can see that they have invested everything in it to make it happen. I love just being in that environment.
I couldn't agree more, and you're hyping me up, and I'm really trying to keep my composure.
No, let's run through some walls, Carly.
Yeah, let's fucking go.
Let's tear this down.
Yeah, I'm. It's a great stage. I always tell people I'm like evangelical about transfix. Like I want more people to hear about it. I want them to understand. I want them to see where it fits for them, and I want them to see whether it fits for them or not as to where they are today. I think this is a great opportunity. It's a great judging panel, like also really great people in the industry there. I'm ready to do it.
Yeah.
You know, like we've prepped, you have to apply to get in. And so it was like that whole process where you go through the application. So there's, a little bit of Q&A. You have to record a video of the solution itself. And so you have to kind of do a quick walkthrough of the video. That is also only, I think it's 5 minutes or less as well for that. So we walked through what our product was then, which was months ago. So it's also really excited to show all of the updates and such that we've done since then. So you submit it, you wait, and then you get the good news that you've made it in the Shark Tank.
I feel like as a tech company, that'd be kind of hard in the sense of like you just talked about, you just did a bunch of updates. So like what you submitted 5 months ago, your product might look vastly different because it's like yesterday's top technology is already old news today, right? So it's like, that's how fast some of this stuff is moving out there. What's something like, what are you excited about? Maybe another, presenter today. Is there anything you're excited to see out there? Or are you just like locked in? Like, I don't care about anything. Transfix is here and we're here to win.
Definitely the second. Transfix is here and we're here to win.
I love it.
Although I will say I have had the opportunity to meet and work with the crew over at FleetWorks.
Yeah.
They're phenomenal.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed working with them. A really impressive product. I haven't had the opportunity to meet or see Sola or Pallet. I'm sure also great because they're in the Shark Tank, which speaks for itself. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see all of them. It's also kind of fun because you don't ever know what edge somebody's going to take.
Yeah.
They're all different parts of a freight life cycle. And so that's also going to be really interesting to see what resonates with the judges. And then there's also a People's Choice Award. So what resonates with those in the audience?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
I love it. For me, it's, I don't know. I love being in there. I just love seeing people compete. Like, I don't know what it's an infectious energy, right? And it's like, and I think that's why I love coming to some of these shows and meeting people out there is like, I just want to get better, right? And that's the thing is, and I feel like we're at a point in time now, especially with technology and automation, where you can pack such a larger punch in the market with the right tech stack. Like, I think it's going to be like, this is a very bold prediction here. I don't know if you're going to see much growth at the top in the next couple of years of like the top transportation companies. Not a knock on any of them. I think you're going to see massive gains from the small to mid-sized market who are going to capture a larger market share with the right automation tool that's out there. They're going to be able to take that stride because I feel like there's going to be there's three camps technically, Carly. There's going to be the ones who over automate and they automate everything and they automate people out of the equation. And again, I'm not going to do that. I believe people are the most important component of it. And then there's going to be the people who don't automate at all. I think they're going to slowly start to trickle out. And then there's going to be the people who thread that line. How do you implement just enough technology and then actually make your human element stand out even larger? And that's where I see the greatest opportunity coming. I'm banking on the fact that that's what we're going to do here. And we're going to be able to go in there and just pack a larger punch in the market. And you get that opportunity now with some of the tools that are out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that it's a balance, right? You have to make sure you're balancing your P&L and your costs and your overhead and what that looks like. But you have to empower your people.
Yes.
You have to empower them to make the right decisions. You have to empower them at every step, right? Whether that's on the sales side, it's on the account management side, which is the unsung heroes of things,
I agree.
Or whether it's in pricing, you have to figure out which is most critical to your organization.
Yep.
And then start empowering that section of it and finding that balance.
Perfect. I love it. Carly, thank you so much for your time this morning. That is going to be it. Day 2. If you're here at Technovations, do not miss the Shark Tank. Carly's going to go up there and dominate. I'm going to be trying to cheer her on from the crowd without distracting her. We're going to have her locked in and ready to go. But that is going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, you guys. It's a really easy thing. There's just this thing called subscribe. I just need you to click it. And then on top of that, if you get value out of the show, rank it as well on iTunes and Spotify, because that's how we get it out there into the network, you guys. We want to reach more and more people. Our audience is growing all the time, and it is because of each and every one of you. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang, window down, yelling out money, anything. Ayy, ooh, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when I'm getting to the